Make it happen.
What is that? Red Nightmare. No. Wait. What? How? How did that happen? I just flopped a 10 divines worth of stack decks, and then that happens? Well, this is a bad one. I spoke too soon.
What are you doing?
What have you done? Foolish girl.
All things said remain clear, maker. Overwhelming terror. Explosive rapture. Forgive me. I was not myself.
Look, Father, isn't it beautiful?
Not now, Zana.
Okay, perhaps later.
But later never came.
Patience is a mercy. Irrevocable thought. I am not the end. Madness consumes.
Hey, welcome in. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing okay. Dealing with some real life stuff, so I haven't been really streaming, but hopefully that'll change here shortly and I'll get back in the saddle. I anticipate doing a solo self-found run. Not sure what build I'm going to do. You guys got any suggestions? Go ahead and hit me up, but I thought I'd go over the final results, I guess. I didn't really change the build too much since the last time, since the Uber boss fight video. I did find that Mage Blood, as you saw from the top of the video. I went ahead and incorporated that. I also wanted to change a few other things. I wanted to try to reduce some of the socket stress that we had. I also looked on PoE Ninja, looked around. Something that you don't really see very often with people that make builds, and especially the bigger the big content creators, the ones that make a lot of builds. Usually they kind of do a bit of a conveyor belt where they make a bunch of builds, and then everybody kind of uses them as templates and does their own thing with it. Well, it looks like possibly some people did that with this one. And there's some ideas out there floating around where some things were changed and updated, and possibly some better damage, some better defenses. I highly suggest you go to PoE Ninja, check it out, look around, see if you got some ideas that you can figure out and come up with your own stuff, and maybe make the build a little more tanky, a little more offense, a little more damage. For some reason, the effective hit pool says infinite. I don't know why that's saying that. There's something being calculated incorrectly. I'll show you the configuration. I even went over this. I can't figure out why there's nothing here, nothing added, nothing special. It's still just showing infinite. It's weird. I really don't know what's going on. While I'm here in the configuration, I'll go ahead and go over it. We do have Feeding Frenzy now in the build. I did replace Determination with Blood and or Flesh and Blood. That is, or Flesh and Stone. I'm sorry, Flesh and Stone. We are in stand stance. Enemies are ignited, shocked, and unnerved. Unnerved comes from our gloves. Shocked and ignited comes from the Ascendancy, which of course I'll go over. Next thing is the damage. You'll see it's 41 million. I am also multiplying it by 50%. If the stars align and everything is perfect, your minions will do a ton of damage. You'll see that you saw that in the boss kill video I showed a little bit early on. A couple of bosses. You'll notice that when they're too close, they'll do their flame breath or immolate. Because of that, you can't tell if they're going to be doing a lot of damage or a little damage. It really depends on what they want to do and how close or how far you are. Sometimes all the magma balls will hit, and you'll watch the health just disappear. Because of that, I went ahead and multiplied it by 50% just to give a little bit more of a reasonable amount of damage. So it kind of fluctuates between, I'd say between 40 and 80 million damage. So let's go ahead and go over the tree. One thing I want to apologize for is I made a mistake and thought that Rotten Claws a Vicious Bite could not be put further up on the cluster. However, if you get Rotten Claws will go to the back, and you can in fact get Vicious Bite. And since we're using the sword that gives crit, we're going to want that. Vicious Bite is a lot of damage for us. So go ahead and try to roll your clusters with Renewal, Rotten Claws, and Vicious Bite. The way I rolled these, I literally just harvest crafted. I started harvest crafting crit, and then I realized that was a little expensive. I switched it over to physical, just rolling it with physical, and eventually I hit Rotten Claws, Vicious Bite, and Renewal. Rotten Claws is a physical tag, so you'll get that modifier, I'd say about 90% of the time. So keep rolling until you get that. Do it to all of your clusters. There's a total of 4. So you can do it that way. And then just try to get something useful for your last node. You're only getting 1, so it's not a huge deal, but there you go. Block nodes. You can't really do much with this, mainly because we dropped Determination, which kind of makes this Watcher's Eye negligible. The Regenerate is nice to have, but we no longer need this Watcher's Eye. You can swap this out. If you don't have one, great, you don't need it. the regenerate again is really nice to have, but you can just put in another primordial, which is another 3-4 million damage. So do whatever feels comfortable for you. If you do take this out, it drops us down to 541 ES regen. Putting it back in, it brings it back up to 643. So that is what that's what happens if you you mess with that. So keep that in mind. Again, in all of these sockets, it's primordial harmonies. Any of them that I get things like cannot be maimed or bleeding effect, like this one here, bleeding duration. You get over 100%. It's nice. It stops you from bleeding in most maps. If you do get temp chains on you, it will still affect you. You'll still be able to get bled in some cases. So be wary of that, but just be careful. Cannot be hindered. That is important for the build. You want to make sure at least one of your jewels has cannot be hindered. That way, the negligible side of the Arakali aspect gets removed. One of the thing about Arakali is every time you inflict Wither, you get a stack of Wither, and Wither gives you not only increased damage or increased chaos damage taken, you also get hindered. But if you have this, it removes that, and CI, Chaos Inoculation, makes us immune to chaos damage, so we're completely negating all of the downside of Arakali. So I've also added this into the build, this half of the wheel here. One thing to note, I'm only level 99. If I was level 100, I would put this node in. You could either take the critical strike reduction, damage reduction, or you could take effective curses on you, or my recommendation would be the rune graft of the fortress. If you do this, you're gonna have to make up some of your attributes, but it's 40% increased defenses. So go ahead and put that in. I'll show you what it looks like. That was a massive buff. We went up quite a bit on energy shield. This is not correct. I don't know why it's showing so low. Maybe it's not counting discipline in the build. I don't know why that's showing it like that. I actually have 5,500, 5,600 without this. So I don't know. Oh, we don't even have it. I don't even have it applied. There you go. That's with it applied, 5,500. This would actually put me over 6,000 in game. It's still incorrect, so I don't know what's going on there. But it does bring this all up as well. 100,000 old max hit, which is awesome. You can try to fit in a melding of the flesh. I mentioned it in the notes section. That's up to you. It's kind of difficult to get unless you balance out all of your resistances. It does have a lot of downside to get that balanced out. But if you can get yourself up to about an 85% all res, or you could even try to come down here, grab this, and get yourself up to almost 90% or 90% if you can work around all of your stats. We'll go over the gear here in a little bit. Of course, your primordial might. You want this so that your boys are aggressive. If they're not aggressive, they're just not going to attack stuff. They're kind of just look at you asking, "Hey boss, what do you want us to do?" And they won't do anything. So unless you attack, so they'll attack where your cursor goes. Otherwise, they'll just kind of sit there and they won't defend you. So you want them to be unaggressive. Block mastery, of course, we have a lot of this necessary. We do take this new reservation as well as this reservation wheel. Of course, Zealous Oath, since we're CI. This crit wheel is awesome for us because we are sort of kind of a crit build. More block and everything. I did put in the rune graft of Gemcraft. This is +1 on non-exceptional support gems. This is a decent amount of damage. It's about 1 to 2 million damage at this stage. So go ahead. This is worthwhile. If you do not want to do this, you can also get energy shield. The note on here is energy shield. Where is it at? Right here. Energy shield is applied to your stun threshold. You could do this as well. Getting stunned is something that you have to deal with in this build. You can also get that on your flask, especially if you're running a mage blood. You could do that as well. It's suggested if you get annoyed with being stunned or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Another cluster, of course, corrupted blood, and cannot be cursed with silence. Reservation of skills, great to have in the build. Once you get a few of those, you could eventually drop this week, and that's another 2 points you could put somewhere else. Soon as you can, start throwing in maximum energy shield tats. These are relatively cheap right now. I got these for like 10 to 20 C a piece. I don't know why, but just fill them up. Go until you can't. Go until it says you're running out of intelligence. It's basically it. Go until it says you don't have enough intelligence to wear your helm or something, and then that's where you stop. Right here we have another Primordial Harmony, and then over here is Anima Stone. Last one is the last large cluster, same deal, and a couple more Primordial Harmonies. Quite a bit in this build. And then, of course, Chaos Inoculation. That is our full-on tree. Again, the only point that I'm missing, because I'm not 100, I think I'm like 50% towards 100, is this one here, and this is my recommendation. And again, if you don't want to put in the rune graft, you can always just opt in for crit or the curse, whatever floats your boat. Last thing to do is to look at the tree. I did drop this. I thought it was working. It seemed to be working, but it ultimately felt lackluster. It also wasn't really represented well in POB, so I decided to drop it and just went ahead and took Shaper of Flames. This is good because we kind of dropped a lot of our defenses. You will eventually drop some more armor. The more armor you drop, the lower your physical max hit becomes. So you're going to want to do something like this. This way you're converting a bunch of physical damage to fire. Go ahead and do this. This is your probably best option anyway for defenses. So this is what we take now. Shaper of Flames. All right, skills. First things first, I'll go ahead and make sure you let you guys know. This here added just for the wither stacks and config. This is just so that I can put those wither stacks that I was showing you right here. These wither stacks, they don't show up unless you have wither in the build technically, and our Akali is not supported yet. So, and it may never be supported because we don't know if these aspects are going to stay in the game. If they don't stay in the game, then that means that number one, this build will not survive. Number two, this here, until it does get added, this is the way to circumvent that and add it in forcefully. So I just put this in for that. Of course, this Primal Aegis comes from our Ascendancy. Envy comes from our sword. Despair comes from our ring, is now crafted on our ring. I'll show you that when I get to the crafting. Or when I get to the equipment. Summon Flame Golem of Hordes. Minion damage, Congregation, Concentrated Effect, Greater Volley, and Greater Spell Echo. Conk Effect is the top damage. However, if you want better AoE coverage for, I don't know, running around the maps, what have you, you can swap that out with Void Manipulation. It's just straight up high damage for chaos. The difference is about, I think it's about a, I want to say it's about a 30% difference in damage. However, with the amount of damage we do, you could just run that one instead, Void Manipulation instead. I I could actually bring it up because it's the next thing that it suggests. So congregate or concentrated effect. If I put that in, it's 39,000 or 39 million, and if I swap it, it's 41 million. So it's not nearly 30%. It's way less than that. So that's the option you have. You could swap that out, have better AoE clear if you'd like. I also didn't even have quality on that. And you could also get it corrupted 21, 23, whatever floats your boat. So there you go. Next thing, this is our summon goal. This is some of our golems. We got Chaos Golem of the Maelstrom. That helps us apply Wither. It actually applies Wither. Carrion Golem, Lightning Golem, and Feeding Frenzy. Feeding Frenzy is new to the build. That was added, something that I wanted to add. The problem was figuring out how to release some pressure on the sockets. That was why I decided to put Despair on a ring. This is a huge amount of damage, and now is part of the build. So once you can do that, you're good to go. This has not changed. It's still Zealotry, Summon Stone Golem, Guardian's Blessing, and Generosity. Spirit Offering is now in the build. This is mostly for mapping. However, you can apply this to bosses if you want to switch out something with a Desecrate, and then, like I did in the intro video, you could do that. Ice Golem Shattering is just where I stuck this. And then Stormbrand, we still use that so that we can apply our curse, we can apply our flame or our ignite and our shocks from our ascendancy, and that's it. We just run around casting Stormbrand. On bosses, you can still use like Ball Lightning because it hits a lot faster and a lot more frequent, and you can keep 15 stacks of Wither up a lot easier. Convocation automation. I'll take this one forever. I'll take it to my grave. It's the best. I cannot stand wanting to hit convocation all the time. I will let this cast itself. It can go ahead and do it on its own. I did, however, take out the point in the tree that reduced the convocation cooldown so that it's not as egregious. It doesn't constantly cast it. It feels a lot better that way. So I did do that. And then, of course, our movement skill, Flame Dash. On some bosses, in fact, those videos at the beginning, I took Flame Dash out and put Desecrate in so that I could do that. Here's our buffs: Enlighten, Tempest Shield, Ball Discipline, and Flesh and Stone. That's it. This is the new setup. The only thing that was changed is Determination with Flesh and Stone. It makes our mana reservation pressure a lot less. It's a lot easier to fit this stuff in. So go ahead and do that, and you'll be good to go. Despair on ring. We will now look at that, but we now have Despair on the ring. How does that happen? Well, we just get a Hunter ring. There are actually two options. You can get a Hunter ring, or you can get a ring from Delve. Now, Delve rings typically, I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't believe you can get an item level 84 Delve ring with the curse on it. So you might have to do some recombinating to get it transferred. Or you can just get a bone ring that's a hunter base and then either try crafting it or try to recombinate rings until you get this. Or again, you can recombinate until you get a ring with 4 modifiers that you want. Craft the channeling skill, and then YOLO the hunter orb for the despair on hit. There's only 3 hunter modifiers for suffixes: despair on hit, elemental weakness on hit, and some poison damage on hit or something like that. The poison damage is very high weighted, so it's very likely you'll get that. I tried Vesper. He kept giving me just that option for both choices, so be wary of that. But if you can get a good, well-rolled ring with Despair on it, you're good to go. Otherwise, let's start from the top. Same exact sword I've had since the beginning. It's why this our damage scales really well with crit. The next thing up is our Aegis Aurora. The thing about this is the minion gems, not a big deal. The increased chance to block. It does put me at 40%. If you can get this with 29% or 30%, that's the highest it can go is 30%. It puts this at a 41% chance to block. That's the highest it can go. It helps out. However, from looking around on PoE Ninja, looking around, and also doing a little bit of min-maxing here on POB, you could do a minion-based, like, fossilized shield, and then just go with high block, minion crit chance, and +1 minion, and whatever stats or anything else you might need, and you can craft your own shield. You could do it on a shaper base and get some ES on block, stuff like that, and you'll be fine. You'll be good to go. So take that into consideration. That is an option. Dr. Monarch, this has not changed. This is the same exact helm that I've used since week 1. Now, there's one thing to note about this. You can min-max this. However, I'm not going to do that because this is already an expensive helmet. But if you were to double corrupt this, you could get mana reservation, which would bring down the pressure on our mana. And also you could get +2 aura, which is because, well, the auras are socketed in this right now. Or you would just put your auras in there if they weren't already. And you could get more defenses. So this is one of those options. You could double corrupt this. Again, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to watch this thing poof in the temple. So there you go. Next thing, Incandescent Heart, same one that I've been using. Make sure you get it with +2 socketed minion gems. Anything else is a bonus. The reason we like the +2 socketed minion gems, other than obviously giving +2 to our flame golems, is it also gives +2 to our congregation gem, which puts it at the threshold to put us at an active minion limit of 20. Deathgrass, Warlock gloves. These are the same gloves I've been using since week 1 again. One thing I'd like to note is these gloves could be the only thing you need for the build if you wanted to craft them with the Arakali aspect. You could, in fact, make gloves that are the minions convert 100% fire and the Arakali and make them Flame Golem of the Horde Chaos Conversion gloves. They're the only thing you would need. And then the boots could be crafted however you need to make up stats, make up resists, whatever it is. And that is an option. I have been considering making a pair of gloves that are just for this build. Like Flame Golem of the Horde build. So that is an option. If you guys want to do something like that, it would be really cool. You could also roll the implicits to be a lot better. These are definitely low rolled. I think that's a minor or the lower end, lesser, and then maybe a greater modifiers. You could get them rolled better. Replica Dragonfang. This is the same one I've had since the beginning. You can roll this better. Not roll this better. You can get something better, which would be a focused amulet with +2 fire, +2 all skills or all spells, and 20% mana reservation from a Shaper Orb. That is a very, very expensive amulet. If you want to do that, you can. That is an increase in damage. I don't believe I crafted one. No, I didn't. That is a big increase in damage. If you want to try it. So there you go. That's up to you guys if you want to give that a go. This is the same ring from the beginning. I've had this since day 1. I have not re-rolled the implicits, or not implicits, but I have not re-rolled the prefixes, and I have not even catalyzed this thing. I haven't catalyzed anything. because it's not been necessary. The build's been strong enough to handle everything. This one was quality when I bought it, though. Mage Blood. You saw that at the intro. I just happened to drop it. I can't believe it. It was ridiculous. It just, I was like, oh, fake heavy belt. And then I looked at it and I'm like, you got to be joking me. Bottled Faith is still in the build. You could also run a Cinder Swallow urn from Betrayal. That is an option because we do ignite from our Ascendancy. So you could run that as well. For me, I like to run Granite Flask, Sapphire Flask, Quartz Flask, and Quicksilver. I rolled all of these myself. The Quartz Flask is something that I'm just a fan of. It gives me the ability to just constantly walk through things. I'll go over the notes here too, but you can also run Withering Step in the build, which is both offense and defense. You can use that to apply Wither, especially for bosses. So that's another option. So speaking of notes, this is the last thing I want to go over real quick. I just want to make sure everybody knows. I like to put some notes in here. Some of this stuff I've already covered. One thing I want to note, again, recommend looking at other players on PoE Ninja, see what they've done, figure out how you want to do it. At the bottom here, I don't know why POB is showing infinite. I still don't understand. I can't figure it out. If you can figure it out, let me know. But yeah, it's not an immortal build, so don't get it twisted. And again, I multiplied the damage by 50% just to bring it down to a more reasonable number. Sometimes you'll burst things down like it's no tomorrow, and sometimes your guys will be too close and you'll be doing negligible damage. So, one thing I want to note while I'm looking at it here is because of the Despair being on Ring, you can put other things in. Withering Step was one of the options. You put that in. It applies a bunch of extra withered stacks, good for bossing. Also gives you phasing temporarily, lets you move through stuff. Culling Strike, you can try to fit that in somewhere, maybe on your Ice Golem or what have you. That helps as well. Spirit Offering, again, is nice. But again, if you're going to use it on bosses, you're going to need Desecrate or something like that. Well, actually, Desecrate's the only thing. You have to use Desecrate. Again, you don't need the Watcher's Eye anymore. You don't need the Aegis Aurora anymore. You can go with Crafted. You can go with another Primordial Harmony. If you want to do Storm Shroud, something I didn't mention. Storm Shroud requires you to have Avoid Shock. I am currently doing it with the where is it at? This one. Using it on my Granite Flask. 55% chance to avoid being shocked. With the Mage Blood and with the 70% increased effect, I am shock avoidance capped, which makes all of my ailments capped. However, if you run a map that has reduced flask effect, this will screw you up and you will continually get ignited and frozen and you'll be like, oh crap. To make up for that, you're going to want to make a pair of boots that are meant to be shock avoidance boots. So you will roll them with essence to have shock avoidance on the explicits or on the explicits, and then you will roll the implicits to also have shock avoidance until you are capped, and then you will be ailment immune without having to worry about map rolls or anything like that. So that is up to you guys if you want to make Storm Shroud boots instead of doing what I did with the flask. And then everything else I've already covered. So hopefully this was everything you guys wanted and more. If you want anything else for the build, I would love to keep my finger on the pulse of this build, see if anybody has ideas or wants anything more out of it, and also to follow along if this league goes core or the ducats go core or the aspects. If it goes core, this build doesn't die. We have a sweet build to start 3.30 with. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to make a build guide again for that next league. I'm going to try to do it like a week or two in advance. That way I can get everybody on board. And if we have any options or any changes, we could do that. And then I'm going to do a solo self-found run here probably within the next week. Let me know what you guys want. If you guys want me to try to do a golem build or something like a golem build, let me know. Otherwise, you all have a good one. Take care.